Hey everyone, it's Joe here from Living to Learn. I've been away on vacation and stuff like that, and it's my first time back to have a chance to sit down and go through some PMs and stuff like that, and to do a community questions video. There's a couple of questions there. I'll get through them and make some videos as time goes on. But the one that has been coming up a lot lately, maybe because more people are getting interested in buying custom knives and stuff like that, they're starting to ask more fundamental questions, and that's what the community is all about. That's what the Live and to Learn community is all about. It's about knowledge. Buy whatever knife you wish to buy, but it's nice to be armed with these questions. Like when you're going to buy a car, you want to know the general questions that apply to all cars. Nobody is, or most people who go to look at cars wouldn't be mechanics, but you know the fundamental questions that need to be asked, and they are prevalent across all makes and models. These questions are the same when it comes to knives or any custom pieces for that matter. I'm going to try to get through the questions, the most common questions that come up, but the one that comes up all the time and seems to be needing to be explained, and I am no expert at this, I'm no metallurgist or anything like that. I work within a specific range of what I know, and it seems to be fine so far. But the most common question I get all the time is Rockwell. What's the Rockwell HRC? How is it tested? What way is it tested? And so on. Now, it's a huge question to get into, to dive straight in and get into kind of part-time metallurgy. But I find that the easiest way to look at it is to use the kind of 80-20 rule. That out of all of the stuff to do with Rockwell, 80% of it won't apply to you personally, but 20% of it will. And once you know the ins and outs of what applies to you and what you want from a knife, then you can ask those questions. Some can argue that the Rockwell scale is a personal preference, and I would tend to agree with that. But in the Rockwell scale, you get these syncretic views of this knife guy who you respect. He will rock a hardness on his knife of this, and this other knife guy you respect will rock the hardness on his knife of this. Neither are wrong. It's just what depends on you. So this video is more about how to find out, or so maybe some terminology or some lingo of the best knife that's going to suit you across any range of knives. This is in no way aimed at any specific maker. So the best way to do this, or the way that I went about it, and I found the best way to go about it, is to work with what you know. I have two knives here. They're cheap, cheerful, and they're from my own collection. I have a Mora Bushcraft Black, and I have a new one that I picked up from Fiskars, cheap and cheerful. Just wanted to give it a whirl. I like when Swedish companies come out with these type of knives. This is a new one from Fiskars. It's the inbuilt sharpening stuff. It's kind of a bit gimmicky, but hey, for €10 you can't go wrong. And the reason why I choose these two knives is because, like in a video where I kind of glanced at the Rockwell scale before, most people would have these at home or in their collection, or would have owned one. So it's a good place to kind of start. Swiss Army knives for pocket knives is also a good one. There's heaps of information out there online in regards to especially Moras, and forums where questions can be asked, the Live and Learn community being one, where you can ask these type of questions. So if you have a knife you like, or have used a knife that you like, say like this one, most Mora knives are in the Rockwell range of mid to high 50s, 57 to 59 depending on batch, make, model, that kind of stuff. So instantly off the bat, you're armed with a range in the Rockwell scale that you really like, or that you know that you like. Now 65 heading up into that range, you don't need to confuse yourself. Like for example, axe heads have a very low Rockwell scale. If you find, when you go to take a chip out of an axe, it can be a lot easier than when you go to take a chip out of a knife because of the hardness. And this is where people tend to get swamped. Some people think that having a super hard blade, like something up in the 65 range, like the Dutch Bushcraft brothers, very knowledgeable knife guys, they love a super hard steel. Like 65 is pretty hard, super steel area stuff up that end of the scale. And then axe heads are pretty soft. Both can go through wood and do what they need to do. So this is where the syncretic views come into play. you need to look at what works for you. And I'm only using more as an example here, but again, because most people would have them. If you find that when you buy one of these for a minimal investment, or a Fiskars or a Hultafors, any of those type of knives, and you use them and they work for you, you can sharpen them easily and they perform the tasks that you need them to perform. Because again, everybody performs at different tasks. Some people prefer edge retention and so on and so forth, but everybody uses their knife differently. When it comes to skinning game and stuff like that, you would need a different kind of hardness maybe for hitting bone and edge retention and different types of grinds and stuff. But what works for you? Again, we'll use this one. So you know you've got your range. Then you can look at other makers. So when you go to a maker, whether they be prevalent, big, small, in a shed or from a factory or semi-production knives, you've already got a range that you can work in, and you can just stop there, and you're good. You've got yourself a question. You don't need to worry about oil quenches, and you don't need to worry about the intricacies of it. Like if the Rockwell scale is a big selling point for you, know what you can work in and know how the maker can test them. I'm not here to step on anybody's toes, but there's a couple of ways you can test them, and the two most common ways a knife can be tested is with Rockwell foils. These are usually a little set of foils that you can that come in a tool roll, and the foils themselves are hardened to specific ranges, 60, so on and so forth. Then when a knife maker makes a knife, whether they quench it or cryo it or send it off or whatever, the way that they can test it using foils is to get a foil and try and scratch the blade, and if and when where the scratch appears within that hardness range, it's a good indication that it's in and around that ballpark. It's a bit of a primeval method, but an effective method, and it works. The other one is a Rockwell tester. This now is my personal favorite. I'll always kind of aim in and around there, and this is not to say that just because a maker doesn't have a Rockwell tester or doesn't even have a set of foils does not mean that they do not make a good knife. I'm just trying to help you understand the questions that need to be asked. So when you go to a knife maker and you ask them, knowing that you're armed with the Rockwell hardness of your favorite knife or your favorite tool that you use, then you can further move that conversation along and say, well, what hardness do your knives come in at? The maker might say 59, like Sandy from Jack Law, for example. His knives are 59 and he's pretty good at getting them on the button as Sandy. Like. So once you ask them that, you're like, 59, that's fantastic. That's in the range that I like to work with. It's in the skill level I can sharpen. It's got everything that I like about there. It's a great indicator. It's a good tire kicking, oil dipping kind of way, to use the car analogy again. Then you can further move on and ask them how they test it. And a Rockwell tester is a fantastic way of being able to see visually, and it's a very, very precise way to test the Rockwell hardness of a knife. I'm not saying the foils are bad, but it's just the more exact way. Look at it as service history. You want to see that kind of information when you move on further down the line when it comes to buying cars. And a Rockwell tester is a big machine with a dial on it. It gauges down and it puts small marks in the steels. Again, I am no technical engineer, but that then gives you a calibrated reading. In fact, if you want to go look, Sandy from Jack Law has videos on his channel, probably one of the most in-depth knife making channels that there is on YouTube, and you will see him use his Rockwell tester in action, and how precise those readings can be, and he can get 6 or 7 knives bang on to the hardness that Sandy prefers to make them at, which is obviously what people prefer to buy them at. No one's going to question Sandy's edge. So they're the two questions, and that's as far as you would need to go when most people come and ask me that question. That's usually what I say, because after that point it's up to you. Because most people, when they buy a custom knife, they might only buy one. They might only buy one because they like the particular steel, they like the particular hardness, and they like the maker and the style of knife. And then further on, they will stay within those parameters because they're quite happy. Unless you're going to move out of those parameters and start getting into the ball bearing steels, your 52-100s, your RWL 54 kind of loveless steels, and your super steels and so on and so forth, well then you can do the research that requires that. You can Knife Gods is a fantastic page, the Bark River is a fantastic page, and again, the Living to Learn community, you can rock on and you can ask what people think of D2, because there is no question out there that you can ask that has not already been answered, especially with the internet. So you can rock on to these forums and communities and you can say, well, what do you think of D2? What do you think of AEBL? Now, again, you will suffer from the internet syncretic views things, but you will get an answer. In fact, one of the funniest things I did, the best way to get an answer on the internet is to give the wrong one. Pro tip there. So when you get these things, you can expand off your parameters. But if you're a first-time knife buyer and you're interested in the Rockwell scale, that's a good place to start. Well, that's where I would recommend to start. Pick a knife that you really like and that you have used. Don't go on somebody's recommendations when it comes to blades and buying blades moving forward. If you've got a Moore, if you've got a Fiskars, if you've got a Hultafors, if you've got an old sack that you like to use, or a Buck 119 is a very popular one, or any of the early Schrade models, everybody seems to have one of them in their drawers at home, and you can sharpen it and it doesn't chip and it doesn't roll and you're happy out with it. Go on the internet and find out the particular hardness of that knife and work from there. And then when you ask the hardness question and the maker comes back and it's an answer that you like, then ask how they test it. You've got foils and you've got a Rockwell tester, but don't stand for people not giving you these answers. These are questions that need to be asked. You know, if you decide to go down the hardness road and you like a hard knife or you like a soft knife, nothing wrong with either of them. Once it's the knife that you want, and they're the questions there to ask when it comes to the Rockwell scale. I could do a more in-depth video, and if the questions come off the back of this video, I'll gladly do that. But as of now, that's all I would tell anybody who came to me and asked me about the Rockwell scale. Or an awful lot of people will see a knife and then come to me and say, Joe, I want to buy this knife. It's blah 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 HRC. What do you think? I don't like giving personal opinions, but I will tell them, well, this is how you find out the HRC. Do you own a Moore? Yes, I do. I love it. What is it? It's 58, this particular model. And what knife is this? 65. Well, then instantly they have found their own answer. This knife is 65. I might have to look into that. How am I going to sharpen it? Would it be considered brittle? These kind of things. Bark River, for example, use an awful lot of 3V. That's in the 60 range. My Stewart has that stuff down pat. But some people struggle to sharpen them. Some people don't care about the edge retention. Some people don't care about 3V, and adding extra dollars to the price of knives where $10.95 and $100 knife will do them just fine. But at least they found the answer. And kind of true intelligence is not knowing every answer, but knowing where to find them and knowing how to find them. So hopefully that'll clear some of that up in the community questions. The Rockwell one is a hard one to meander through, but start off at those 2 points and always remember the 80-20 rule. 80% of this stuff will not apply to you, and the real trick is just to find that 20% that does and allows you to navigate through the used car lot of life and find out what you need to know and not get ripped off, and make sure your money goes to the best maker that is going to make a knife that you're happy with. And that's all I can say about that one. The next community question is going to be on blade geometry, which should be a good one. I'll start off again with basic blade geometry stuff. I'm not going to dive too hard into it. So there you go. I hope that helps anybody who's looking to buy their first custom knife, and I hope that helps the guys who asked me the Rockwell question there over the past couple of weeks. That's a good place to start, and the world's your oyster after that. Like, you can get as in depth or as not as you want. Find your favorite knife, find the hardness of your favorite knife, and find out how they test the hardness, especially when it comes to custom knives. It's a question to ask, and don't stand for anybody or any maker who won't answer these questions. Every maker, unless they're starting out, again, syncretic views, if a maker's just starting off, there's allowances you have to make. If he's just working out of his workshop, and that's not something he's going to invest in. But if you're talking to a well-established maker, or a maker who's on the scene for a while, or a maker who claims that he knows the hardness of his knives, ask those questions. Get the best money and get the best knife that you can afford for the value you want to afford it. It's a very special purchase. We all work hard for our dollars, and I don't like seeing that stuff happen. If you can answer any more questions, or you can think of any more questions that you want answered, hit me up on the Living to Learn community all the time. I'm reachable through the YouTube channel and the community. the community questions thing is here to, and I really enjoy doing them. It's here to answer your questions and help people out. Knowledge is free, and if it helps people move on and get a better service and get a better product, I'm all about that. So there you go, Joe from Living to Learn.